Can you hear me? I wonder, can you hear me? Because I know the mask is kind of like, in my way. You can't see my face. You can't read my lips or anything like that. And this is the mask. Yep. My mask, I call this mask actually called hypoxia. And what it stands for is unable to breathe, unable to eat, really. It's when your vital functions start shutting down because you have no ability to, to do stuff. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take off this mask and be able to talk to you directly. It's been a while. So I just want to say a couple things. And say, hey, how are things going? It's been a long time since I've been talking to you guys about everything. And so I just want to say how things are going with me. Well, I've been going through some therapy, trying to repair my arms and stuff like that, because I have a thing with regards to I fell on my shoulder. I fell on my face and my shoulder about a month ago, and I'm still healing from that. And it's been kind of a long time in dealing, And so many things. So many to talk about. Let's see, what can we talk about today? I have so many things to talk about. I just don't know which one to start off with first. I'll talk good news. Let's talk good news first. Well, it's today is July 3rd. It's the day before July 4th. And so what happens on July 4th is going to celebrate Independence Day. And Independence Day is finally going to open up the beaches here in New York. And pretty much I'm here in the parking lot here in Queens, not too far from Long Island Expressway. And pretty much, a lot of things have happened. Good stuff in terms of we're challenging the status quo, The other thing is let's see, we were able to go to Albany, and that was a couple weeks ago. I went to Albany and we did part of the protest, which is it was a protest to the governor's mansion. And so we went from City Hall to the governor's mansion. We were protesting the vaccinations, the forced vaccinations they were going to have. We want people to be forced vaccinated. Well, they're saying that, they want to do because how they want to do this thing where, no matter what they say in regards to how, whether or not you believe this thing, whether it to be a real thing, a pandemic or a hoax, or whether it's, a situation where it's things are really happening and people are actually, dying from this thing, or they're saying it's no new deaths are happening. It's kind of one of those things where there's no new deaths. But what is happening is that it's the same amount of numbers, same amount of people who would normally die on a given year. There's no extra, for example, there was a volcano explosion, you'd have so many more people dying in a volcano explosion than they would have a normal year. But then they're saying all kind of things, and then everybody who gets it, whether you believe it or not, they get what he called recover. Majority of people recover. There's no risk for those who are, no risk at all for anybody who's a certain age, and high risk for those who are immunocompromised already. So it's always one of those things they talked about, this thing has it where if you are a certain age or a certain number, what happens is that you are prone to, because usually everybody who's died from this thing had some other kind of something with it, some other kind of situation, some other kind of part to it, so they didn't have they had a pre-existing condition and some kind of prior, some kind of a co-injury, a coexisting situation where they got, sick from this thing. So you have that. The next thing too is you have that. The next thing too, they talked about there's certain people who certain doctors who I listen to who say there's no new evidence of a new disease or anything like that. And what happens is, and I really believe that, because it's they always talked about in the beginning how people were dropping dead and stuff like that right next to you and stuff like that. And I live in a very busy city. I live in quote unquote the epicenter, and for a long time we went to different places. We went to the Elmhurst. We went to different hospitals to go and see for ourselves, and it was no activity. I worked my job until I took a break in May for my job, and what happened was after that, pretty much I came back and then I injured myself. I fell down and I injured myself, and so just kind of dealing with the whole injury of that for some time now, and just kind of going through my doctor and getting my back realigned and spine realigned and all that stuff and everything like that, so I can heal up properly. Anyway, long story short, there's an aspect where it's there's some people that say that there's no new anything to this, and so what happens is people are just really freaking out. Now, one of the things that keep happening is that no matter the numbers, and they're doing a weird thing with this. Instead of them just explaining and saying, okay, well, things are getting better, they keep propping it up, and then now it's they're the states that were open, now they're going to close them off, and then we who were in New York were closed, and it was we were saying, what the heck is this? And they're saying oh, before it was in January, and in March it was this, and then it was this, for example, regarding the masks, the whole thing with the masks. They talk about this. If you look on the side of the mask box, they always say that this does not stop it. It doesn't even reduce the risk of getting it. So it's I had this big argument with one of my friends who I used to work with, and he said, well, no, this is going to help stop the spread. But I'm saying, like, listen, the box itself said it does not stop the spread. It doesn't even reduce the risk. So it's like, if it doesn't reduce the risk and it doesn't stop the spread and it specifically names the thing that it cannot stop, the CV doesn't stop it. And what happens is that, it says these things, but people still have it. You have it where people are forcing you to wear a mask now. You know, it's like they're forcing you to put a mask on. If you don't put it on, you're worse than Satan. And so it's like if you choose not to do that, so it's like there's a big argument, and so the cops aren't enforcing this anymore. Cops are not enforcing because they had a thing where the cops were going crazy with this for a while, and they were just attacking people and stuff. And so they were like, you're too close, you're too close, you're too close to each other, and then they jumped on this one guy in the Bronx and they just beat him on the ground and they handcuffed him, and you're too close, and I was like, that's messed up because you have to handcuff people really close in order to be close to them. And then they were just getting mean, and eventually the mayor was like, just quit it, stop enforcing this. We can't enforce this. And really, you can't enforce this thing because honestly, it's not a law. It's not even it's just it's not mandate. It says no governor can give you a mandate. It's not a law done by a board of judicial, a legislative branch. It wasn't pushed forth by the legislator. It's not a real law. It's kind of like a suggestion. It's like from the beginning, it's always been a suggestion, but they force it. And it's kind of the thing about like the whole thing with toilet paper, how people were just running getting toilet paper, and it was like they all went stupid and started grabbing toilet paper. There's shortage of toilet paper everywhere. And then it was like, why is everybody doing that for? Why is everybody running? It's like, if you just stop and think and you watch the masses go crazy grabbing stuff, you're like, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Why would anybody go through the whole trouble of having to go get toilet paper and then make it a difficulty for everybody else who just wants to use regular toilet paper, don't want to stock up in the case of the apocalypse. Like, what are you going to use toilet paper in a situation? No, what ended up happening is they end up using it and they realize, what, oh my goodness, why are we ridiculously going this crazy for this? And the same thing with this whole mask thing. It's like they're just going ballistic with it. They continue to go ballistic. It's like there are certain places. My wife and I went to a place on Tuesday. I have a long story here. Oh my word, but I'll make it nice, short, and quick. There's a certain place. Let's call it Costco. And what happens if you go to Costco? There's a couple of requirements that you can go. You can not have to wear a mask. It says it in their paperwork and stuff as well. And the paperwork, it says that there's two sets of people. Kids that are under 2 don't have to put on a mask, and those who have medical conditions. And so what happens is that they don't have to wear masks. So as it so happens, I do have a medical condition, and so pretty much it's like that doesn't require me to wear a mask. And so I have as you can see, I have my hypoxia mask and things like that. I have my hypoxia mask, and I made this, and so this is my mask that I've made, and it's like pretty much it's for my own purposes and everything. But it's like purifier, and what it does, it creates a pocket of air around. It sends like a electrical charge. It's with ions into the air, and what it does, it sends anything that's kind of like in the way, or anything that's kind of like in your breathing zone gets zapped by this electrical particle. And so what happens? I had this. I actually had one before. It used to be called the Fresh Air Buddy, and I actually have it with me here. Just if I can find it for you real quick. The Fresh Air Buddy. This one was I used to have for a long time. I actually wore this when I went to Ecuador. This one here. This is my Fresh Air Buddy. Now it's all beat up. I had to wrap it with masking tape and stuff. It went through a lot. It looks all hideous and stuff like that. But this thing, what it does is that actually when you have it plugged in, you see in the front of it, you have like these little vents and stuff like that, and there's like a little micro needle point ionizer on it. And what it does is that it sends a little arc. And if you have it in the dark, you actually see a little blue arc kind of like walking through and touching the little membranes on top, right? So it's pretty cool. This one here is the same thing. So this is like the new improved model of that. This is the one from before. Now, here's my personal dilemma, right? This is a machine that works. It works really well. It works against things, even like things called like anthrax and things like that, and E. coli, and it does things where nuclei, it kills bacteria and stuff like that. This is a very powerful machine. And what it does is that it's like I have some other machines. I have the big one at home. They call the Fresh Air Surround, which is 3,000 square feet. It's a pretty good machine. So what happens is this, right? As I'm sitting here looking at this, there's a tendency inside of they said the thing like the whole toilet paper thing, where people started like selling toilet paper and the price of toilet paper went up and people are going crazy for that. There's an aspect where it's like you have it where if you can do something, right? Should you do something? It's like if you know something is not right, should you take advantage of people who are believing it, wholeheartedly? Now, I have a problem because I don't want to take advantage of anybody with this thing. It's like people were getting money from slaves. They had their field being cleaned, they had their house being cleaned and taken care of, and all their children being watched out because they had a slave, and a slave would help them. So they paid money for this robot a robot human to be there so they can actually take advantage of them, so they can actually get stuff done. And so when you told them that slavery is wrong, they're like, "What the heck is wrong with you? Don't you know slavery is the best thing that happened to me?" So you have this thing here with the same thing with the face coverings. And so what happens is that when you have this thing, you have it where, I have this machine, and this machine is about, 100, $120, $100, for it. And what happens is, like, I could make a lot of money from selling these things, and I really think some people today I should probably do that. But my conscience is telling me that, if I know something is not, I think this virus is. And so, like I was saying before my thing cut out again for the 100th time, it's a thing that, this is so weird, I keep breaking my thought pattern. So it's like I have one thought, then the thing stops and stuff for like a minute. Anyway, so what happens is, I think that a lot of it is overinflated, and because of that, I don't want to take advantage of any people that I know who, I want people to try the machine and stuff like that, as well as, be, blessed by it. But I don't want people to, like, do it for the sake of fear. And I don't want to push anything for the sake of fear, because what happens is that fear is torment. And then it's just like, better than the people who are pushing fear, the fear mongering and stuff like that, than those who, if you're trying your best not to, just to help people. Because this machine, it works when there is no, no bugs and things like that, when there's no problems like that. And so what happens is, like, I have a machine in my house, and what it does, it kills the mold and mildew. It's the same machine that does it, cleans the air, and it's a purification system. I've had this, when the thing started, I was telling everybody about it and stuff like that. I even got a machine, extra one, just so I can let people try it out. But in the midst of it all, I was saying to myself, I don't want to do something that's going to be, help the fear. I want people not to be afraid. The Bible says fear is torment. And he who fears has not been made perfected in love. I've been saying since the beginning, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. And what happens is that, the more you look at stuff, the more they keep pushing things on you to be afraid. Instead of them imbuing courage and hope and saying, we're going to get through this thing, it's like, okay, first it was 15 days. Okay, just got everybody quarantined for 14 days. And then it was, okay, we'll have it for a month. They're not going to unflatten this thing. They're going to keep going with this thing, because you want to know why? They're in control this way. If they continue to be so what happens, like with slavery, there came a time where people said, what, I'm done with this. I cannot continue to support and help and encourage something that's detrimental to other humans. They've done tests. They've shown the tests. I had the oxygen sensor, and how the mask causes the oxygen to drop down between 19.5% is the least amount that you can have that's safe guarded into OSHA. OSHA rules, if you look it up, says that the OSHA rule says that you can only have oxygen up to a certain level. The wearing a face covering doesn't help you breathe properly. Now, then people will argue and say, "Oh, it protects you from this, protects you from that." But it's the thing is this, right? When I'm wearing this thing here, it's not on my chin. I'm not wearing that thing on my chin. I'm not wearing my bacteria on my face. Okay? It's like this thing is slaughtering anything that's airborne in my breathing zone. So what that means is that there's anything that comes down the line, anything comes near to me, it's not going to be, it's not going to be going into my nose. And I did this. I had one of these before when I actually did this one, the Buddy. I used this when I was at doing a painting thing, and we were shaving the thing off the wall, shaving sanding it down so we can paint. And I had this machine on, and it made a vector around my face. So it was like you can actually see the paint chip fell on my shoulder everywhere, but it didn't fall here. It was actually a really cool thing. I should take a picture. Next time I do a paint job, I'm gonna do that, and I'll show you with this. That this is how powerful this is. It takes particles out of the air, and that's paint particles, that's micro paint particles, airborne particles, and it fries it. So this, pretty good machine. The thing is this, when you have this scenario where the people are constantly telling us about, what we need to watch out for, we need to watch out for this thing, and continue to put it in our mind, we would have just forget about it. I'm out here right now. I'm sitting in my car, and I'm just enjoying the moment, just thank God I have an opportunity to be here. I have my arm pain and stuff I'm trying to get better from, and trying to get better so I can go back to work, and I love my job. I want to go back to it. I totally enjoy it. And the thing is, like, with my injury, it's been one of those things where, you start asking yourself, what are the most important things? Like, what if God wants me to do something else? What if God wants me to do something different? And I worked at many jobs before, and just give you a little timeline of some jobs I did. I used to work at I worked at a law firm, and the law firm job I liked it a lot. But then something happened. I can't get into details as to what happened. Not with me. I mean, I left the job to go find something else. But it was I was there for many years, and I enjoyed it. I had a good rapport with everyone, and I still have a good rapport with many of the people who are there. And one of the things I learned about it was that, there's, like I said before, if there's something that you do that bothers your conscience, you can't do it. It's like, I worked in ministry for many years, and it was a time where we were confronting different pastors and telling them, the stuff that you guys are doing is not right. And they instead of listening, they turned us into, like, pariah and stuff. We became the enemy of the state. And so eventually we went to another church, and then that was like, we saw the power, what power does to people, how power corrupts. We also see what powerlessness does to people too. It's like if a person is absolutely powerful, there's people, or people think they're absolutely powerful, they're corrupted. But there's also an aspect where you feel hopeless, and it's like in this situation, many people feel hopeless. But then you know what? We still have our rights. See, again, it's not a law. These things that are given to us are not laws. They're mandates or suggestions, or I don't know. They're not commandments. Okay, and the highest law in the land is the Constitution. And everyone who knows the Constitution or a little bit about it understands that there are certain things. As long as my freedom doesn't impose on your freedom, as long as the things that I want to do, yes, you're free to express yourself. You're free to freedom of speech. And also, the Second Amendment says that you're able to carry a weapon and able to have a gun to protect yourself. But the thing is, like, there's your freedom of expression also has freedom of consequences. So you can, like someone was saying, when one of the doctors was saying, you have the right to to express yourself and freedom to think, but you're not free from consequences. And that's the thing. So it's like you talk about this thing here, and I feel for these people. I feel for every single person. It's like before you can tell a person who was not wanting to comply. They were the ones that were saying that, what, let me just like not comply, because if I comply, then I'm just helping the situation. And there's people who I talk to and they say, oh, I have to do this because my job demands me to. But it's just, if you don't even protest, if you don't even just say, let me do something to stop this. Let me say something. Put a little question in somebody's mind, cast some shade, put some doubt, and say, what in the world? I mean, imagine Adam and Eve. They were in the garden, right? They had it perfect. They had all knowledge, they had all wisdom and everything. God says, if you eat from this tree, you're going to die. If you eat from this one tree, you are going to die. And so what happens, instead of them listening to what God had to say, they listen to the serpent. And the serpent says, you're not going to die. You're going to be fine. Don't worry. God knows if you do that, you're going to be just like him. And what happens? Yeah, they became just like God, be able to determine right and wrong for themselves. But in the process, the consequence of that is death. Because you know what? I think the way how sin works is that it's one of those things where, we don't understand how it's ever encroaching. It's kind of like a cancer. It gets every single part of you. It's like, it gets to every single part. And it's a poison, and eventually takes your life. And I imagine the first children, Adam and Eve had Cain, and Cain's little brother Abel. Cain killed Abel, because he was jealous of him. Adam didn't teach him how to kill. He didn't say go out and kill, but he was all, God warned him and said, listen, sin is crouching at your door, ready to devour you. It's ready to eat you up alive. It's like people try and play with sin. They try and fool around with sin. Go to bars and stuff, and they give you a little bit of sin to drink. Here's a little bit of that. It makes you feel good, but later you're all sick, and you paid a lot of money to get some of this stuff, and then you're drunk, and then after that you wonder where you spent all that money, and then you accomplish nothing. And then you have a thing where it's like people do all kind of other stuff. They start making things up. They start doing stuff, and then eventually what happens is like they have done so much sin, it takes them. It's like I think about like my point. What I'm trying to say all this is this, right? You have an aspect where it's like you have to protest. You got to protest. You got to say something against the situation that you're in. If you don't, then they're gonna just take more and more and more stuff away. Look what they did first. First and foremost, they said it's a suggestion. These people, right? These politicians. They were saying that this and this is a problem, or not even a problem because you're being racist if you say this is from this. But then later they're like, okay, this is it's all right. And then they started saying, oh, well, the president didn't move fast enough. And then, and he was the one saying that this is got to close it down. So they were kind of like just fighting against him all the way. And they continue to fight against him. Now, I don't know. I've seen a lot of things. Now, I think Trump is a pretty interesting person. I think he's kind of showed himself to be different from the regular politicians, because all the politicians, they've been there for so many years, and they've accomplished very little, if anything, just imprison and further make slaves of us all. But in the case of Trump, he's actually helped us a lot, in terms of money and stuff like that. We had money, much better. We had jobs. Work was starting to get really good. I mean, I was enjoying work, and I loved working there. And then this stupid thing happened, and it shut down the whole world. Now, there's an aspect where it's like, there was a person, and she was showing how there's a spike in the testing, and they were ramping up the testing. And from the beginning, they went from, we're going to do this for a short time. Now it's now we have to do it for a bit longer. And now we're going to cancel summer. Oh, we're going to give you your freedoms back. Oh, we're going to take your freedoms away. Oh, you can't protest. Oh, we encourage those who are protesting. Like we went to go protest. I had a thing, I actually have a video, and you look back and you see that on May 1st, my wife and kids and I, we went to City Hall. We drove all the way to City Hall. And when we got to City Hall, it was like we were dismissed by the governor. Governor said that, the governor said that you have no protest. You can't have any protest, because what happens is like you're going to spread the thing. And we're like, oh, I cannot believe this. So then later, June 1st, a month later, you have the protests, and they're burning the city down, right? The city's on fire. Cops are scared out of their mind. And everybody's like kind of going ballistic and stuff like that. And what happening is like, as they're doing all these things, it's like you're saying to yourself, you have the thing where the mayor's daughter is involved, De Blasio's daughter is in it, and he's like, I support the movement. And I'm like, that's weird because we're going to do a peaceful protest on like on May 1st, and then you guys all shut it down. Mayor and governor shut down the peaceful protest in City Hall to end the lockdowns, and instead what happens is that you guys continue. So it's like this: we are innocent, we are powerless. We as citizens of this sovereign state of New York City, we are powerless. We are a bunch of whipped babies. I can't say the word because I don't curse, but we are a bunch of whipped kitty cats. And what happens is that we can't even we can't even fight the system because the system, it's like this is a whole big giant liberal state. And I want to see how long it lasts for Texas. I want to see because Texas now is on the lockdown, and so I want to see if Texas itself is going to be able to have its situation as well too. And so my thought in the whole process is that what, I got to figure out something what I can do for myself, because it's like in terms of my family and I, we are not shook by this, but we are surrounded in the land of idiots. And a lot of people are just kind of like continuously bombarding us with foolishness. I have a friend of mine, and he was telling me about something that happened, and somebody said to him that, what, they don't want this person going somewhere unless that person wears a mask. And I was like, I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that they're actually willing to do that. And that person's a friend. And I have another friend, oh goodness, I can't even get into all the details about stuff. All I can say is this, right? The reason why things are alive is because we make it so. I always said before that the stock market is a matter of human energy, right? You have to think about human energy. And the stock, every day, the elite watch the stock market and says how much energy and how much attention is being given to this thing that I'm making. And when you have that, they give more money. And money is equal to energy. Energy is equal to life. And so you have like the latest iPod or iPhone comes out. And what happens is that, you see so many people run to go get it. But you think about all the work that went behind, all the industry that goes into it, all the slave labor, all the hard work, all the things that go into it. And then it's like when they get money from it, it's at a level of people's souls that have been taken in order to make this thing happen, and interests and population. And so it's an industry thing. And there was a guy on Blue Collar Logic was talking about this and how, how industry, everything connects. How everything connects to each other. So when you have a thing with industry, it works out because you have a scenario where one industry helps another, right? And that works out good. But then when you do this lockdown thing, which we did, and you start kicking out businesses and you have 33 million people, file for unemployment, I mean, that puts a tax and a strain on the tax situation. That's taxing on the people who are working, and it's going to tax the people when everything gets better. So they talk about this whole stimulus package, and they don't give it to us all once, right? It's one stimulus package. And then you have people who don't even get it. You have the illegal aliens who don't have anything. And then so it's like then they're releasing the criminals into the street, out of prison. And then you have like all these things are going on. And then you have these people wearing masks. And then for a long time, ain't nobody wearing masks. And then finally put all kind of pressure. It's kind of like, as I'm thinking in my mind and saying stuff, I was like, I noticed the hypocrisy there. So when you point it out, they fix it and they make it harder for you to find more. But they're so sloppy with it, you actually find more hypocrisy. It's a matter of like time that things are contradicting. So people are like, okay, if you read the mask labels, it says it does not stop the thing, right? If you read it, it says it doesn't stop it. But people still wear it. You have to have your face covered. And they say, well, it stops the droplets. But they say, we're not really sure how much on the droplets have exactly the thing, because we're not even sure, because we can't really because they haven't done any tests for it is what it is. They actually did one test about the one test that they have done, and they had 450 people, and they found they were not asymptomatic people are not contagious. They actually showed that. But yet here we are still continuing on with this thing. And we're going to continue to do this because wonder why? Because the people the fear has bitten, they have bitten the apple of fear, and that is now working its way into the system. The only way for you to not this is, God help me, you are stronger than this, I trust your sovereignty, and here you're faced with different things, where your job. And so the thing is, like, I personally have a medical condition, right? I got it many years ago. And so I don't tell you about it because none of your business. I'm just telling you about the fact that I have one. But the problem is this, right? It's like I don't emphasize it, right? Because it's like, one of the things, like, it's really not in your business. But the thing is, like, when you have a thing where you're going to, like, my wife and I the other day, we went to Costco, and we had a scenario where we were talking to them, and we told them we have a situation. We handed them paper. It was like we went in, and when you get in, they ask you, where's your mask? And we said, we have a medical condition. And we go in there, we went shopping. We did shopping, we were there for like 50 minutes, okay, a whole hour. We're there shopping. We finished shopping, we're going towards the line, and two people walked up to us. And they said to us, hey, where's your mask? And I said, we have a medical condition. We said that at the door. And I said, do you have any paperwork? And it's like, paperwork. We have paperwork, by the way, but it's like the bottom line is like, so we gave them the paperwork, and they were like, oh, we've never seen this before. And so it was like, the guy looked at me, right? And I was having my arm braced and everything like that. And I was looking at the guy, and he was looking at me, and then I got my paper back. And then my wife gave the paper to him, because it was a guy and a girl. So I was talking to the guy, and then she was talking to the lady. And we're talking at the same time and said, we have a situation here. We have breathing, situations that we can't really get into. But, we have a paper that says, here we have it. So we handed him the paper, and we had a copy of it. So we gave him a copy. My wife gave the copy to the lady. And so we went to the line to check out. We got halfway through. We got like 80% done with our shopping, right? Ready to walk. And what happens was like, that same guy who I gave the paper to, he comes up and tells the cashier to stop ringing us up. And I'm like, what the heck is this, right? And so you know me, if you know me and you listen to my videos, I'm very even-keeled, everybody has a dark side. Everybody has a tough side. Everybody has a fight or flight response. And this fight or flight response, it's ready to fight, man. I'm telling you, it was just there, and I made fight one-handed. And what happened was like he stopped it and I said, "Why the heck are you stopping this?" Right? And his thing was like, he didn't even start talking to. So he's on the phone talking to a manager, and I hear him talking to the manager, and he's saying, "Oh, the cashier didn't feel comfortable. The cashier didn't feel comfortable ringing us up." But Home Skillet just went up to the cashier and says, "Hey, you stop ringing right now. Hey, you stop ringing it right now." Right? So again, the cashier came over. He went to the cashier and says, "Hey, you stop ringing it." And the cashier said, "Okay." And then after that, he left, and he's on the phone. And this guy's on the phone talking to his manager and saying, "Hey, the cashier doesn't feel comfortable ringing these people up who aren't wearing the mask." All right, you don't see people get angry too much, and I got upset. I got really upset with the guy because I said, "Why are you lying? Why are you lying? How dare you lie to like this?" And then so when the manager came up, I started talking to the manager and said to them, "This is the situation that happened. He just stopped them. We just talked to him. We got in here. We explained, right? We talked to him by themselves. We showed them information. We explained what we have. We got to the cashier. The cashier had no problem taking the card and ringing us up. And then in the midst of it all, we're halfway through. We're almost like 80% of the way. We had 3 more things on this thing to ring up. And he comes in and says, "You had to wear a mask." What the heck is his problem at this point, right? Because here you have it. We're at the end of the game. We've already got through 100% of the store. We're at the last line before you get to the finish line. One more step and you cross the finish line, and they want to make an example of us. Oh, no. If anybody knows me and my wife, together we are power couples, okay? There's stuff that I can do and the stuff that my wife can do. When you put us together, it's like almost like a third thing emerges. And all of a sudden you become like you have a third situation. We have some power that you've never seen before come at you with a fierce force. And anyway, long story short, I get into all the fluffy details. We end up getting all the names of all the people who are there. We got the name of this person, that person, that one. Because you know what happens? When you have a medical condition, you tell somebody you have a medical condition, and somebody comes to you and tells you afterwards that they don't believe that you have a medical condition, that's not against good faith. That's also against the fact that, you're violating your ADA, because the American Disabilities Act has said that you cannot ask about what a person thinks after they tell you they have a medical condition. And what happens after that, I told them the situation. I said, I can't tell you exactly what it is because none of your business. And if I do that, I'm going to have to bring your butt to court. So anyway, what happened is this, right? We end up getting the information of all the people who were involved, right? Then we got the name of the administrator, and then we called corporate. We stinking called corporate, and we sat there and we talked to corporate for a good hour, right? They wanted us to leave the store, okay? They want to leave the store and go step outside and talk to them. We said, we are standing right here. We are shopping. We are members. We have a card. We are almost done shopping. We're paying this with money, right? We have a card. We're paying this with money, and we're shopping for our family. And we are at the end. We explained to you at the beginning that we have this thing, and here you go telling us the situation about how you want us to put a mask on. Did you not hear what we just said from the beginning? We said it 1 time, said it 2 times, said it 3 times, and you still want to go ahead and... For evil to triumph, it said good people do nothing. So we called corporate, we talked to corporate, you know what they said? They said we were in the right. We were in the right. We explained to them, even the stupid things in Costco's law, it says if you have a medical condition, you're exempt from mask rules. We explained that to them. And they said that, so they're going to give us an apology. They gave us an apology, and we asked for an apology. We're going to call us and have an apology. We'll go back to the store and gloss it again. Because you want to know why? Because here's the bottom line is at the end of the day, It's like, you know what? It's called customer service, and that man had some filthy customer service, and he deserves to get some kind of a discipline for that. Now, I personally don't like to have people lose their job, especially in a situation where it's hard to get a job. Yet that guy, he left. He should have left us alone. As soon as we said to him we have medical, they should have been okay. That's it. No, 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 no. He wanted to escalate the situation. And when you go out and want to escalate a situation, when you go out of your way to escalate a situation, you deserve whatever you get. Okay? If you go calling somebody ugly, or you start cursing out somebody's mother, and then they get all mad at you, you deserve whatever thing you get. Now, I don't think people should go out and do violence to one another, but I'm saying if you go out there and you ask for something, remember you're free to express yourself, but you're not free of consequences. If you want to go ahead and do something, like people keep thinking about that. That's the whole thing about this thing with abortion. People want to go ahead and have sex and all kind of stuff, and then when they bring a little baby, they want to kill the baby, and they will yell it was rape or whatever. When the fact of the matter is that just because of convenience, this is one of those things where I sit back and I ask myself, I said, you know what, this is not fair, because it's like, many people who are pro-choice are not giving anybody a choice when it comes to wearing a mask or anything like that, And so what happens is that you have a scenario, hey baby, good, hey baby. And so what happens is that, you have the people who are like, they go on, they keep talking to you about stuff, they tell you about things. They're the ones that are talking about the sanctity of life and about how important it is for life to have, and they're killing babies left and right in terms of like, the fact that abortion is a choice, You say, you're not allowed to kill a person. You're not allowed to kill a person. When you start doing that, you start getting into the whole realm of euthanasia, get into the realm of, this genocide called abortion. You see, half the black population in America has been wiped out because of abortion. Why? Because the whole fact of the matter is because one of the things is like you have it where people have chosen, they've bought the lie, they bit the apple of confusion and frustration, the apple of fear. They think, what's going to happen to my life? The other side of the matter is this, right? You have it where, see, a guy has no choice in the matter at all. It says, if the guy wants to have a baby, and he wants to keep the baby, the mom says it's not my choice, right? It's not his choice, it's her body, her choice. But if he does keep the baby, then the guy can't say, I cannot have the baby. The guy has no choice whatsoever. But the bottom line is this. It's like you should not get involved in anything like that at all. You should definitely wait until you get married, to have a baby, have a family, and bring that family into the world. Because you know what happens? When you start killing people, wiping people out, like in the whole abortion thing, you start wiping out generations of people that's supposed to help this universe. There's a thing I talked about, I was listening to a radio station, and he said about, when people are not allowed, I think it was Tucker Carlson, he said, when people are not allowed to give words or to talk, or people are being silenced, there's whole things of information that are not allowed to be explained. You're not allowed to have opportunities to share and talk and grow. It's like if you can't talk about every part of the car, if something wrong that happens to the car, I'm not allowed to talk about that. It's classified. It's classified. I can't talk about this part of the car. Therefore, the car's not going to get fixed unless you have somebody here who can talk about the whole thing about the car can fix it. And we know many things. These governments that we have, right, governments and the Chinese government, the American government, and all these different governments, they're supposed to be the experts on these things, right? But what happens is that when you start talking about, they are also the ones holding the line with the pharmaceutical companies. Pharmaceutical companies and the government are always pushing drugs and different things like that. So you have these things where they're pushing drugs, pushing their agenda, and they have the money and the backing for that. So for example, if you have an alternative, like I've said this with the paleontology and everything like that, when I was going to get into paleontology and become a paleontologist to study dinosaurs and stuff like that, as you can see, I like little dinosaurs. I would kind of walk around little dinosaurs and stuff like that. I like dinosaurs, I liked it, but when you get into the whole paleontology thing, you have to eat all the fear and all the stuff that they want you to eat. You can't be like, well, hey, there's blood. There was Lady Mary, what's her name, and she talked about how there was a spongy blood cells inside the bones of like a T-Rex. They found the bones of the hip of a T-Rex, and they were able to find the spongy material and DNA that wasn't crystallized. And they say, well, that means that it's like that stuff doesn't last long, and that means that either the process of fossilization was entirely wild, or maybe it's not as long as they said it. Maybe it's a different thing. So if you talk about alternative theories, you get labeled as a quack. Same thing with slavery. When people were talking about slavery and saying about how the fact that slavery was bad, right? There's people said, no, it's industry. These people are not humans. The black people aren't humans. What happens is that you had to be slaves. They're 3/5 of what we call of a real person. All that stuff. What happens is this, right? When you go with the main line tells you a lie, and you have to accept it. That's happened in mainline Christianity, not just in Christianity, but I'm talking about like in the ministry aspect, the churchianity of it. So Jesus is awesome. Jesus is the most awesome figure in history. The more you look into him, the more you respect him, the more you say, you know what, this guy was awesome. He's more than just a man. He was more than just a man. He was God man, you know? And that's what makes him awesome. But when you look into the thing about every industry has a form of corruption. If you're a good cop, you got to deal with all the bad cops. If you're a good firefighter, you got to deal with all the bad firefighters. If you got to be in a good business, you got to deal with all the bad businesses out there. Because you know what? There are businesses that take advantage. And that's why the job that I ended up in the last one, I really liked it because I considered this job, and I really consider this one, I love this job, you know, that I'm currently at, you know, and I'm injured, so I can't go there right now, but the job that I currently in, what happens is that I like it because it's a simple job, and it's an honest job, and you can walk away every day knowing you've helped people. And I like that. It's like if I wasn't working there, I'd be working at Michael's or something, because it's like a job where you help people to do it themselves and to solve their problems. It's like working in the library or something. You know, you're not there to force your will upon the people. You're there just to show them where it is, and they can do it for themselves. And I like that because you just show it. So in a situation like this, that's what I like incentive about this whole thing with YouTube. I'm telling you how it is. But what YouTube does is that they take away your ability to speak. They demonetize your channel. They've demonetized my channel, okay? Everything I've said, whether it's flat earth or about life or about anything, they've demonetized my entire channel, okay? So I'm not getting any money from his channel at all. So I've migrated to BitChute. I've migrated to different places as well, because it's like you cannot do this to people. You can't expect people to speak freely and try and help solve the problem if you're wiping people out. Now, I understand that people are idiots out there and they're fools, and people might even say, I'm a fool, I'm an idiot, whatever. But for the most part, though, there are certain things that God puts in your mind that you have to share, you have to say it. And if you don't say it, somebody once said that if you don't say something that you're supposed to say in the time you're supposed to say it, the world's going to suffer because you're supposed to say something. You're supposed to contribute. You have an aspect of things you're supposed to do. And if you don't, thanks, honey, if you don't share what you're supposed to share, what's going to happen is that the world is going to be poorer for it. So when you have a thing here and they're telling you to put this mask on, right? And this mask does not help you. It doesn't stop anything. It doesn't stop you. You know, you have like the one mask that they have that does really good are those stinking respirator ones, the P100 ones, are like that, you know? And that's like the whole Sub-Zero, Sub-Zero reptile, scorpion mask type thing. And whatever, that's a serious filtration system. Now, you can't afford to wear that all the time. And that doesn't help because the bottom line is that when you wear a mask, you cut your oxygen level down. Your oxygen level is now down to beyond 19.5%. It's a hazard. It's OSHA, OSHA hazard, right, for us to breathe, in a workplace hazard. Outside, we have the ADA that says you don't have to wear a mask if you have a medical thing. And we all have medical something. Every one of us has a medical system. We want to breathe. If we breathe in our own oxygen, right, there's a thing they have when you have that bag. You have that bag and you have to start hyperventilating. They go like this and you have to breathe into the bag. That creates acidosis into your blood. And what it does, it calms you down. See, and we've been saying this for many years, that they've been on their trip to calm us down, to keep the masses from revolting, right? So finally, when the masses revolt, we did a private, peaceful protest on May 1st, and they shut us down because we were peaceful. On June 1st, when they had the riots and stuff like that, they were like, go on, enjoy, we're not going to stop you, we're not going to stop you, just protest. It's like they want the destruction. They don't like the peace. They want the war. And they want to come in and stomp us down. Like I was there on Occupy Wall Street. I went to Occupy Wall Street back in 2011 when they had it. And I seen it when they started it. I was there a lot of it. I wasn't there like all the time because I had my job I was working. But in 2011, I saw the Occupy Wall Street thing happening. I saw the people working. And I said one day, Bloomberg came in and he just cleared the whole place out. I said, that's it, everybody just done. You're done. Same thing happened with this chop place and this Chaz place too. They have the thing where they're showing you. They give you that the communism thing, they give you that socialism thing where the Green New Deal and all that foolishness. They say, but this is what you're gonna do, and this is how you're gonna do it. This is what you do, and finally people actually do it, and then they show you how stupid it is. But before that, there's a lot of damage that happens in the process of them doing that. When people are warning like prophets and saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. So when you have this mass situation, the mass is telling you it does not stop the thing, right? It does not reduce the spread of the thing, right? It does not, the social distancing thing doesn't stop it either, right? You have all these things that are happening, and what it is that, you're talking about science and said these things are not alive. It's not alive. It's not a living thing. You have in all these books, it's not a living thing, and that if it is a living thing, what happens is it's going to die when it gets to 80 degrees weather, and they're going to say, no, that's not true, and they keep switching the goalposts. First it was 15 days, then 30 days, and now here we are, 4 months into this shindig, right? 4 months into this dance. And they just keep getting worse and worse. Before it was open, it's if you can't meet and thing, then now it's all the buildings are getting to a point where you have to lock it down. Like I went to my doctor appointment today, and the guy's like, hey, you gotta wear a mask, and it was like a different person, and I was like, oh, okay. And I went to go to my bag, and I just went on, kept going. I went upstairs and went to where I had to go for my doctor's appointment. And then when I came back down, I put on my hypoxia mask. So he didn't even know who I was walking out, you know. So I had my mask walking out with everything like that too, you know. So pretty much this one's one of my masks, and this is the part of it. But it's like when I put the whole thing on. See, the thing is, it's like you know, it's about educating fools. You know, I mentioning before, Amy, if you listen, I was mentioning before about what happened with us, the whole Costco thing, and then so the thing is like you know, for the most part though, it was horrible. The fact they did this, I said that you know it's not fair to do this to people, especially when people explain that you have a condition. If you have a condition, you explain it to them. You don't have to tell them what it is. You say, "I have it, therefore I'm telling you," and you even go as far as having paper to show them. It's like, and they don't believe you. Oh my goodness, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous stuff. So here you have it, right? You're faced with a scenario where now they put you in a situation where you're gonna attack because you just gotta lose your cool and lose your mind on these people. Because if you just listen to what they have to say and listen to them, you're gonna hear all the contradiction. Like for example, and see, I was just thinking of one the other day. It says, what was it? Well, we breathe. We have to breathe, right? The breath of life. God breathed into us the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And when we breathe, we have to speak. And everything is about muzzling us and cutting us down. We cannot protest. We cannot exercise our freedom of speech. We cannot meet together. We cannot protest. We cannot carry guns. Especially in liberal New York City, it's impossible to get a gun. You can get a gun, you know? But it's like the thing is, to get a gun legally, it takes a while. Okay, so then what happens is that you have this situation. I just want to say real quick and just end it. That I was saying the curve won't be flattened because they're not going to let it be flattened. It's going to be flattened when we protest against it. Everybody starts wearing masks. You know, we were talking about having a thing where it says, you know, we're not going to take this anymore. We're not going to believe it anymore. And so we're just going to stop listening to fakes and all that. Because what happens is that the longer we listen to it, the more energy we give to it. It's like the stock market. The more energy we give to it, the more people make money off of it. And so the thing is like, you know, as I wear this machine on my neck, I don't want you to buy this machine for me because like you're afraid, okay? Now, this is not a machine you buy because you're afraid. You buy this machine because you think it's a good investment. You don't want to get sick from something that will actually make you sick. But it's like what I've been learning is that there's a terrain thing, and there's a terrain thing, and then there's a germ thing. The terrain thing says if the environment is toxic, what it does, for example, if there is anthrax in the air, okay, or if there's something like that, that's you know, like a toxic, this machine will help you with that kind of toxic, okay. But for example, if you think it's something that's going to make your life better, like wearing a mask, even though you know the mask is not going to work, you know, this cloth mask, the surgical mask, these masks don't work, okay. They don't work like they're supposed to work. They don't do anything. You say you stop the droplets, but you still got to breathe. You can still smell a sinking fart through the thing, right? So it's like air's passing by. People are going to say, oh no, it's not true, it's not true. Whatever, man. You just believe what you want to believe. But if now you're infringing upon my freedoms, okay? You're infringing upon my freedoms to act and my freedom to breathe. And that's the first fundamental thing. Freedom. We can't even go out and go place anymore. We are living in a country of socialism and communism, right? Democratic socialism. We're not even getting a chance to even vote on this situation. They're just forcing us to make decisions. Now I'm going to end this right here. I just want to say thank you so much for listening to me and listening to me for 50 minutes. And you know, if you hung on this long, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. But you know, this video isn't monetized anyway, so just want to say thank you for listening. And I'm putting together some other things, other alternative stuff to go towards, and everything like that. And for the most part, though, I'm going to drive soon. But for the most part, though, what happens is that you have it where one of the things I think about is like that when you have this scenario, you can't be on the channel that you know that you put your work into and they don't pay you for it. You know, you can do stuff and you want to advertise, but for the most part though, this YouTube has become corrupted and it's not fair. It's not fair and biased, and they should be punished for that. I just want to say that. Thank you so much for listening to me. I wish you all the best. Keep safe. You know, keep safe. Keep safe. Watch out for crazy people because they're all over the place. You know, if you can find solidarity, you can hang out with your family, and you can make a change in the world. You know, encourage somebody with some truth. Do that, okay? Because you know the truth will set us free, and that's what happens. When people are afraid, they're just acting out of impulse, and whatever somebody says, the higher authority tells them. That's the thing with us. We've been through so many higher authorities telling us lies that we were like, you know what, we can't roll with this anymore. We have to There was a time where my daughters, when my kids were being born, and the doctor says one butt cheek is higher than the other. You know, and they were going to make a problem for that. And if we were skeptical or just wasn't as skeptical as we were, we'd listen to them as like one butt cheek is like, what the heck is wrong with these doctors? So anyway, research for yourself, search out for yourself, okay? There's a couple of good doctors out there. One good doctor I really recommend, his name is Andrew Kaufman. God bless you. AndrewKaufmanMD.com. You can look up his website. God bless you all. Be safe. Watch out for crazy people, and have a good weekend. Happy 4th of July. If you get to go out, go out. If you don't get to go out, go out. Make a difference in this world. God bless you. All right, bye.